and was up by 20 and then by 30. They had plenty of plays to cheer for. That crowd just was not loud. It was not into it. You can honestly say, okay, nothing dirty took place. None of that. Lexie left the game, and some of that is because, look, these leagues are driven by superstars. That's just the way professional sports works. 8 of 14, 22 points. Natasha Howard, 2 of 4, 50%, 6 points. Kelsey Mitchell, 8 of 15, 53%.
What happens when your star player is out? Half your guards are injured, and you're fighting to keep your playoff spot. For the Fever, it wasn't collapse, it was transformation. This wasn't Caitlin Clark's night, but Indiana just handed Seattle a reality check in a must-win game. And one player, with a swollen forehead and a fearless heart, turned the entire arena on its feet. You think you know who carried this team, but the real story goes way deeper. Let's break down how resilience became dominance. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. Imagine this. The Fever are already down Caitlin Clark. Christy Wallace is stretched thin trying to cover guard duties, and suddenly Lexie Hull goes headfirst into Gabby Williams. The crack of contact stunned everyone. For a few seconds, the game froze, and you could actually feel the room holding its breath. Hull clutched her head, stumbled toward the bench, and the Fever's already thin rotation looked like it was about to snap in half. The scoreboard didn't matter in that moment. What mattered was survival. Because when you looked at that roster sheet, every missing name was already a problem, and Hull going down felt like the one cut they couldn't afford to take. Think about the math for a second. Clark, outside. Cunningham, outside. McDonald, outside. Coulson, outside. That's basically the entirety of their backcourt rotation wiped in one swoop.
Guys, if you think the Indiana Fever fandom doesn't miss Caitlin Clark and they don't miss Sophie Cunningham, so she only scored 5 points, but she grabbed 9 boards tonight. 2 assists, 21 points. Odyssey Sims, and I'm going to tell you, she had a bank shot for a 3 that finally got the crowd up. This was Lexie Hull down here. Her and Gabby Williams collided head to head.
And Gabby Williams
this league is wild. I mean, I got to tell you, if somebody can get physically hurt, they're going to.
Hull had been elevated into a role she wasn't even supposed to have to shoulder, and now she looked like she couldn't make it through the second quarter. Fans in the front rows kept staring at the bench, and every Fever player on the court had that look in their eyes like they just saw the season tipping off the edge. For a team clinging to playoff hopes this late, losing a guard didn't just sting, it threatened to dismantle the whole structure of their offense and defense. And all this played out inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse on a night that was supposed to be a neon-bright celebration. The concourse was covered in swooshes for Caitlin Clark's Nike logo night party. There were giveaways, big smiles, a buzz like you'd expect when your rookie is a phenomenon before she's even finished her first season. But while the lights and music played up the brand, the inside of the arena felt like two different worlds colliding. The crowd wanted to celebrate Clark, but they were suddenly watching one of her teammates limp off with a knot the size of a golf ball pushing up on her forehead. The cheers faded into a dull hum, and for a minute, even the hype videos on the screen couldn't push energy back into the place. Now when you saw Hull on the bench, it looked rough. Trainers wrapped an ice pack over that swelling, and teammates crowded around. Erica Wheeler had this frozen look, like she was trying to process losing yet another backcourt partner. Nalissa Smith leaned in, almost motherly, checking Hull's balance. And if you watch the broadcast, the commentators couldn't stop replaying the collision, slowing it down frame by frame, reminding everyone just how brutal it looked. Fans on social media immediately started typing the same question: can Indiana even finish this game without guards left? It wasn't just about points. It was about bodies. Depth was gone. But here's the thing. Less than 10 minutes later, like nothing had happened, Hull walked back onto the hardwood with this swollen mark still printed on her forehead. If you're a fan in the stands, that's a jolt of electricity in itself.
So, at times, there's things that Lexie does, a lot of things that help contribute to this team. And then she ended up coming. She fought through that pain. They probably checked her for concussion. And then she came back in the game. All you got to do is look at that crowd tonight in Indiana. That crowd was dead most of the night, and their team was winning.
She wasn't jogging around timidly either. Hull threw herself right back into loose ball scrambles, turned her body into a shield on rebounds, and stayed physical on defense every trip down. You could actually feel the crowd switching moods with her. Instead of groaning at the sight of her injury, now they were rising every time she threw herself onto the floor. That's what shifted the identity of the game, and it wasn't just about symbolic toughness. You check the box score later and see Hull finished as a plus 31, snatching 9 rebounds. That's not fluff, that's cold evidence that her minutes completely changed Indiana's control of the pace. She didn't become the leading scorer, but she became the emotional anchor that gave everyone around her permission to push harder. Kelsey Mitchell started driving with more force. Smith looked more aggressive inside. Even Aaliyah Boston, who usually handles pressure down low on her own, seemed to take a breath, knowing someone else was carrying that warrior energy with her. So what looked like the breaking point ended up flipping into the very thing the Fever needed. Hull turned the sight of potential collapse into a rallying cry. By refusing to sit out, by refusing to shrink, she reminded the rest of the roster that toughness wasn't optional. And with that, Indiana found themselves not just surviving the night, but reshaping their offense around players stepping into roles bigger than anything they'd imagined.
Watch this, boom. And look, that's just, now that is a random basketball bang play. That's all that is. Natasha Howard, 2 of 4, 50%, 6 points. Kelsey Mitchell, 8 of 15, 53%. Her scoring has been down as of late, although she had that one ridiculous game a couple of games ago where she scored like 25.
Indiana didn't just take down Seattle without Clark. They showed they can win as a group. This was toughness, not talent depth, that held the game together. Hull's return, the hustle on both ends, and the way different players filled gaps proved Indiana isn't locked to one star. That matters now, because confidence like this pushes into every playoff chase. The Fever's win wasn't only about tonight's scoreboard, it was about setting an identity others must respect. If you believe this team is proving they're bigger than the injuries, drop a comment with, "I've got the Fever."